maybe at about 15 years ago, I was living with my dad in a townhouse. And I was in my bedroom upstairs. And I had one window that looked out over the front road. And in the window, I noticed that a huge spider had spun a web. And it gave me the willies. And I was going to open up the window and remove the web. But as I got close to the spider, I just looked at it. And it was eating something. It was basically had something wrapped up and was eating it. And, you know, I guess I was busy and I was in a rush. But, you know, something really struck me at that moment. And I probably looked at it for at least a good 2-3 minutes, I guess. And I let it stay there. And then I came back and was doing stuff around my room. And it was dark. And I remembered that spider. And I looked out that window. And there it was in the center of the web, just as big as could be, spread out. And it was just like, yeesh, you know? And it was actually coming towards the fall. It was hurricane season. And we had a hurricane coming. And it was coming fast. And so a day or two had gone by with me continually watching this spider. And this spider was catching bugs and it was getting fat. And this thing was probably double, triple the size that it was when I saw it, you know, the first time I looked outside that window. So now the wind is blowing and the skies are dark and the rain is beginning, you know, to hit the window. And I'm in my room and I'm wondering, and it's dark again, and I'm wondering, you know, about that spider. And, you know, you could begin to hear it. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. And I was like, what in the world? Tap, 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 tap. And I got up to look at it. And it was the spider on the web being blown by the wind, tapping up against the window. And it was like, I mean, it was just weird. It was weird. You know, I was really just absolutely kind of amazed at the spider, to tell you the truth, that it was even still on the web. And I was beginning to almost even worry about it, to tell you the truth. And so the next day comes, and I mean, you know, probably the storms may be another day or two away, and it was really dark. It rained all day long. I did stuff around the house, and I would, you know, come by that window and look at it, and it was still on the web, and it was getting blown harder and harder and harder. Tap, 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 tap. And I was like, man, this thing is getting, you know, brutalized here. So the web that was really nice and pristine before all this started was now barely holding itself together. And, you know, it was like the day that the big storm was coming, and the spider stayed on that web up until about the point that, right before the biggest winds hit that were over like 60 and 70 miles an hour. And I made it a point to watch and see if it was going to stay out there, if it was going to get blown away, or what was going on. Well, the spider ducked for cover. And, I was like, good for you. Good for you. Because you was about to get wiped out. And so the storm does its thing. And the next day comes around. And, I must have slept in pretty late, because when I woke up, that spider had spun one of the most amazing webs I've ever seen to this day, completely across the second floor window. Completely. It was like 3 foot tall, 2 foot wide, and that spider was spread out in that morning sun on that brand new web, with all of that water and driblets just a glistening. And I had come up to that window and was looking at it in complete awe. I mean, I was almost in real admiration for this spider. It had stuck that storm out. It had hidden itself away, and there it was, lickety-split in the morning with a brand new web before I'd even woke up. And at about that time, as the spider was in the center of the web, and I was looking at it, and I was like, man, it's a little skinny. And there a bird flew by. And the bird stopped in midair, about 10 foot out, and hovered like a hummingbird, and looked directly over at that spider and me at the window. And it wasn't even a hummingbird, it was like a robin redbreast or something. And it flew over and snatched that spider off that web right before my stunned eyes, and flew away. And I sat there for must have been 4 or 5 minutes looking at that web that was just, for what it was, as beautiful as it could be. Just a glistening in that morning sun. But that spider was gone that quick. That's a true story. I'll be back.